Hey, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for our GoAERO expert lecture, our FAA guides for the GoAERO competition. We're so pleased to have all of you here. We're so pleased to have our partners, Boeing, NASA, RTX, Honeywell, Iridium, Global Aerospace, and SAFT with us, as always, along with more than 30 organizational partners from around the world who are supporting the competition. We will spend the next hour focusing on the FAA process and working with the team at Gardner Aviation to provide you with some advice and insight on how to go through the FAA process. GoAERO has partnered with Sue and Jim Gardner to engage with all of our active Stage 2 and Stage 3 teams who may need support navigating the FAA aircraft and airmen. Both are recently retired after an illustrious 30-year career with the FAA. Jim's role as a senior executive in flight standards with experience navigating both GA airman and aircraft certification, and Sue's role as the FAA National Aviation Events Specialist and FAA team member supporting development of pathways for sUAS and unique aircraft, and program lead for the Sport Pilot and LSA rulemaking, gives them the tools and strong relationships within the FAA to help all of our active Stage 2 and Stage 3 teams identify and navigate their way through the FAA certification pathways in an efficient manner. Jim and Sue, we're so pleased to have you here. As a reminder, please use the Q&A function in the Zoom to post any questions that you might have, and we'll be sure to address them after the presentation. Thank you.
Great.
Jim and
Thanks for the intro. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. We'll pull up our presentation and go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. We're looking forward to talking to you about what is considered the first step in the certification process with the FAA, registration. And this is a step that needs to be accomplished before you can actively fly in the United States and certify your aircraft. We're going to focus on drones that are weighing less than 55 pounds and drones weighing more than 55 pounds.
And so we've kind of broken down the presentation to those two areas. As you can see, the two bullets down below. And Nidhi, I'm going to do a quick check and make sure that you can see what I'm looking at here. We should have the first page of the PowerPoint.
yes, looks good.
Great, thank you. So first, we're going to talk about the drones weighing less than 55 pounds, and this is the registration process through the FAA's registry division. And then we'll go on and talk a little bit, quite a little bit of detail about the drones weighing 55 pounds or more.
Our expectation is that some of you will be using beta test drones that are less than 55 pounds. So that's why we want to talk about the registration process for that.
So let's kick off with for drones weighing less than 55 pounds.
Okay, so the focus is on Part 107, drones, and we'll jump to the next slide.
Okay.
So to certify your drone under Part 107, the FAA has created the drone zone. I'm sure many of you might have accessed this, but if you don't, we're going to walk you through that so that you can see how to create an account and log in, add your drone as a device, and pay the registration fee that's required under Part 47.
And there's a copy of the page from 47.17, the fees. And you may want to occasionally check with this throughout the next year or so. In the event that a fee does change, it will show up in this regulation. But right now it's $5. And you may see us mention $5 as a fee and $10 as a fee for the aircraft registration further on down in this presentation.
And this is just a reminder for you, as part of the process within Drone Zone is after you pay your $5 fee, you will get a receipt that looks like this. Just lessons learned from GoFly working with the teams, that if you don't get this back, you're not actually registered. So it's a key element to look for.
And it's really not that you're not registered, it's more that you haven't proven that you paid the fee. And that's what they really need to know. And so having a copy of the pay.gov receipt and this sample that we put up is a pretty important piece to the aircraft registration, whether you follow through with the less than 55 pounds or more than 55 pounds.
We're going to touch on this once we get into the drone zone, but there is a link that says read the UAS remote identification overview. The remote ID rule, which went into place in 21. A key element that's required when you process your paperwork for not only 55 pounds or less, but greater than 55 pounds, registering them, you will have to provide the serial number for your drone. Only one serial number can be used for each registration. So keep track of that as you're going through, because some of you may have more than one UAS that you're registering.
Great.
Okay, let's take a look at the drone zone site. But while we're on this page, you'll see these are the steps to go through to add your drones to your device inventory, and to click on the remote ID modules to address that, and to add your device and continue on with the registration process and pay your $5 fee.
And to save you a little bit of time, you don't have to write everything down that we're going through. This presentation will be available later on the GoAERO website, and I'm sure we'll get information out to everybody how to do that. And so for right now, I'm going to go ahead and click on log in. And that's going to take us to the FAA Drone Zone page, website. And
I think you have to stop sharing.
oh yes, let me do that. I forget we've got to drive
Stop
this thing
sharing.
also.
And now go back and share.
Here we go. So everybody should be able to see the drone zone site now. And it's got lots of useful information in here. And I'm going to look for, I'll click on the FAA Drone Zone Services. And now I'm going to go ahead and log in. Actually, we have logged in, I guess.
Yes.
I'm going to log out and take you to the login page just so you can see it once. Log in. Here's your login page. We've got an email. I've already established that and the password, so I'm going to go back and log in just as a demonstration. And then since we don't have a drone to register, we won't be able to do that, but I can actually click on the inventory and you'll notice that it says you currently don't have any devices in your inventory. And of course, you can add one by managing the device inventory. And after that, it's pretty straightforward, the process for registering each one of your, they ask you simple questions and just use your best judgment on the answers.
And before you move off of this page, you'll notice at the top in the orange is the UAS remote identification overview. That gives you more information on the remote ID rule and what we just discussed before. And down below, we're not going to talk about this at this point, but the drone zone does have information about 107 waivers and the Lance program and how to get a waiver through the FAA. All right, let's go on back to where we were.
I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing there. We'll go back to our presentation. And should be seeing that here right quick. There it is. All right.
And we'll go on to the next slide. A key item, once you've completed your registration and received it, you must display the issued registration number on the outside surface of your drone, and you must carry your proof of registration with you when you fly.
And you may be asked for a copy of it by either somebody from the FAA or law enforcement agency, a local law enforcement.
Or the facility you're flying.
Right.
Okay, so this registration for drones less than 55 pounds remains valid for 3 years. So at that point, the expectation is you'll come back to the drone zone and reapply again for a new registration if you need it.
And keep in mind, this is for drones weighing less than 55 pounds. There's a different number as far as the 3 years. There's 7 years for the drones weighing 55 pounds or more. So we'll talk about that later. Just wanted to point out the difference. So
Okay.
now we're going to move into drones weighing 55 pounds or more.
So this is required for drones that need an N number registration to operate inside the US and outside the US. When public recording is desired for a UA loan, lease, or ownership documents. Registration is also required for all government drones as well.
Great.
Our expectation is that all of the drones that are going to be participating in phase 3 are going to be 55 pounds or more just to meet the requirements of the competition. So this is where our primary focus is going to be for registration to ensure you're ready to go to compete in phase 3. And we've listed all of the items in general that you need to process through to get your FAA registration. And we're going to step through each of these items in the next slides. The first slide is FAA registry, and if you want to reserve a specific N number, if that's important to you. So let's go to the next slide, Jim.
Okay.
So if you have already reserved a special N number in advance, you would enter it onto your registration forms as you complete them. If you want one and have not done that yet, then they can be reserved online. You would go to the link that is there, and Jim's going to click on that and take us there to see it. But it consists of the following steps. Yeah, we have to jump in and out. We apologize for that. But the following steps are to select up to 5 numbers in order of preference that you would like to have. You can go to the FAA inquiry link that's there to see what N numbers are not being used, or you could reserve an N number ending in a specific number or character, so you can provide those as well, and then proceed with the request. The cost to process this request is $10. It's payable by credit card online, and you would receive a response with that N number. I understand they're coming back in less than 30 days, but of course that can always change. But right now, that's the latest timeline I've been hearing on it. So if this is something of interest to you, you want to get started on this right away.
It's pretty straightforward, and it actually gives you the feedback whether or not the N numbers are available as you put them in. So that's one of the nice things about it. And I'm going to go back to our presentation.
Okay.
There.
If you did not choose a special registration number and just opt for a random N number, it'll be assigned at no cost. Just leave the blanks on the registration form that asks for an N number empty, and a random number will be requested and assigned.
So just for emphasis, you don't have to request one. You can just leave it blank, as Sue just said, but you've got your choice.
Okay, next slide. So the next step is to complete and submit an affidavit of ownership for the unmanned aircraft or its equivalent. So this document is a really important document to get right and to address. It also has the blocks in there for the remote ID again, a block in there for the N number, and make and model. And then the undersigned owner certifies either one of those blocks or more are correct. And then finally, you get down to the signature section, which is can be done in on paper. It has to be done in ink, and it has to be submitted in ink
As an original
as
copy.
an original copy. It also has to be notarized. You do have the option to do a digital signature and a digital notary as well.
But make sure that you're doing it on the original. The original goes to the FAA, and the copy, you keep a copy on your own self.
This is a big lessons learned. If you don't send the original ink copy to the FAA, it will not get processed. Okay, so it must be done in ink if you're doing it via paper, and if you're doing a digital signature, the notary and your signature should be both digitally accomplished.
Great. And I put a link on this page to the affidavit, and it's just a sample affidavit, but all of the information that's on this form is what you could use. So you could either make this form a PDF and use it that way and fill it out, or you can take all the information and type it in on your own. So it's up to you.
And we did add the hyperlinks onto these slides and notes as well to help you navigate your way through the certification process.
Great. So another part of this is that the certification is completed with all the invoices include, if applicable. Now, invoices, what we mean by that is the ownership invoices. If there was a drone that you purchased from XYZ entity, or could have been a person, there should be some sort of a receipt for that, an invoice to help prove ownership. Complete description of the device is required, and then the appropriate title is shown. Whatever the title is on the documents, title for ownership. And then the signature. So the signature affirms that the information and the statements provided herein are correct. Go ahead, Sue.
And what's really important is this UA is not registered under the laws of any foreign country, and you are the rightful owner. So if you're in a foreign country or purchased it from someone in a foreign country, you want to ensure it's not registered in that country. Or if it was, that registration has been canceled and you are the rightful owner of it.
And ink or acceptable digital signatures required. If it's not ink and it gets to the FAA on paper, it won't be counted as an original signature, and it will not pass the mustard test, as we call it. Next, they accept all those documents through that link as far as the email address goes. And signatures that aren't digital obviously must be in ink, and the name of the applicant should be identical to the name of the purchaser shown on the applicant's evidence of ownership. The last item on here, this page, is really important, especially for the folks that are outside the US. A notary public is required. There is just no way around this. We've had during Go Fly competition, we had some challenges with that, where some of our outside the U.S. operators, one in particular, had to fly all the way to Hawaii to get to a notary and get it notarized in Hawaii, and then got it all done that way. But you may have some U.S. notaries in whatever country you're in, and then you'll be in good shape with that. Anything to add?
Nope, that's
Okay.
it. Okay, so once again, a person who wishes to register their aircraft in the United States must complete what is called the Aircraft Registration Application, or the FAA Form 8050-1, that is required under Part 47. And just like in the drone zone, for less than 55 pounds, there is a $5 registration fee that's required and driven by the rule.
Great. And I won't go to this website again. It's it lists every regulation in Part 47, but there's a link right here that would take you to it.
Okay. The FAA, this is very exciting to us. The FAA has just opened this up to drones that are greater than 55 pounds who are going to be certified in the US. It's called the Civil Aviation Registry Electronic Services System. CARES is what they call it. And it allows for you to submit your aircraft registration applications through the CARES platform. You can
Electronically.
Right. You can complete and digitally sign the self-guided aircraft registration applications. You can upload your legal and supplemental documents. They have auto-generated notifications. You can request your aircraft registration N numbers, as we described before, and make online payments. I've gone through the site, and it's very comprehensive. And it takes a little bit of time to navigate through it, but my understanding is it's working really well. The hyperlink to the CARES site online system is down at the bottom right there, and there's also a link in the notes as well.
So before I take it to the site, I'm going to go to the next one. And today we just got an update. Keep in mind, CARES is brand new to registry. Okay, they did a lot of development over the last several months, and they've just launched it. And like anything that's brand new in any organization, there may be some hiccups. And so I just wanted to make sure we did reach out and ask an updated question last night, and this morning got a nice answer back that, in essence, says that the applicants may submit documents through the CARE system, all your application affidavits, all the different documents. If the application contains a digital signature, they will be deemed as an original and be processed as such. Other documents submitted without a digital signature will be marked as a copy and rejected as such. So those are key points, and we just don't want to hear any rejections. So just follow as close as you can. Reserving an N number cannot currently be processed through CARES as of right now, and that's as of last night. Applicants will still need to go through the FAA.gov website and request or reserve a special N number. So that process hasn't really changed. Now I'm going to go back up to
I don't think we need to go
we
to
don't
the
need to
CARES
go to
site.
CARES?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But remember, if you're going to get a special N number, then go to that link that was provided on the page. We talked about applying for a special N number.
You got it.
Okay.
All right, so next screen is completing your aircraft registration application. And put a link down here to go to it. And I think we will pull it up so you can get an idea of what the registration application looks like online. So let me pull it up. I'll stop the share into that and share. And I believe, yep, you are all looking at the same page I am. I'm going to go up to page. Actually, the first page is the instruction page, which is always good to read through. So take the time to read through the instructions, and that pretty much explains everything you need to know when filling out the form. Form is pretty self-explanatory. If you have an N number, this is where you put it, and you'll go through and fill us out with all the information that you have.
It's a fillable document, and it can be digitally signed or printed and signed and submitted that way, whichever way you choose to do it. We're going to highlight a few key areas that you should be considering when you fill it out on the next slides, but this is the form and you're linked to it.
Great. I will stop sharing this one, and we'll go back to the presentation.
Okay, next slide. So as you might have seen, as we scroll through that form quickly, it requires a complete description. It has boxes to be checked, type of registration required boxes to be checked. Phone number, complete mailing address, and certification block completed. The certification block is a key component because it clearly establishes who the owner is and who is signing it. And it breaks things down if you're registered as an LLC, as a trust, and that information is linked in the slide notes for you to review. It also is addressed on the application itself. Once again, ink or acceptable digital signature, and then appropriate titles, meaning it has to be the correct person who is the owner or is the partner if it's an LLC, however it is addressed.
So I think one of the things that I just want to point out and emphasize with that is on your paperwork that you received when you purchased or transferred ownership of the device into your name or your company's name, make sure that the title on each one of the documents matches. Because if it doesn't match and the examiner and registry is looking at it and comparing the two, it will not make it through. So those are key items to make sure you understand.
Okay, so complete legal name must be consistent through all documents. An aircraft may be registered only by and in the legal name of its owner. These are just key elements, as Jim just said, that the registry is looking for and common errors for them getting kicked back.
And so many of the applicants during the Go Fly competition a few years back had that very problem. So that's why we're spending a little extra time right now, just emphasizing that and making sure that you remember that when it comes time to filling out the applications.
Okay, registration of your drone remains valid for 7 years. That's a recent change from 3 to 7. So go ahead, get it done. You're going to be good to go by the time you get to the GoAERO competition.
And here's a page that we put in with some of the resources. You'll notice that we kind of put the hyperlinks to different resources throughout. Most of those have their own hyperlinks. So I think you'll find a little bit of redundancy here, but it's a good page to go to. And let's see, a good number for the registration branch in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, is that 800 number down in the bottom, exam toll free. And then exam email is there, and registry, FAA.gov is their web address.
They're very supportive, but we will also be here to support you too if you have questions.
Right.
So that completes our review of the registration process. I know that some of you have questions about what comes next because registration, as I said at the very beginning, is just the first step. How do I get my UAS certified to fly in the GoAERO competition? We put a link that Sandy Yamani, who is the program manager for the FAA, and John Soltis, who is also a program manager for Aircraft Certification Service, presented as an expert lecture. It's a great presentation. It's very comprehensive. And if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go through it. We are going to be presenting again at the GoAERO Team Summit in Virginia Beach before the VFS Forum on May 19th at 12:30 Eastern Time. It'll be a virtual summit. Sandy and John and ourselves will be on that presentation. Sandy's going to talk about the new FAA certification job aid. And we're creating a checklist to kind of take you through the certification process in a simplified manner to help you navigate your way. Because what's our goal? It's to get you certified to fly in the US for the GoAERO competition. We know that along the way, one of the great benefits we have of starting at this point with the phase 2 teams is we have time to help you with finding locations to test and certify your US in the US. On this presentation, for the VFS forum, and we will be providing this additionally on links at the GoAERO site, is locations and information on UAS test sites that are around the country. We put together a list of the phase 2 teams and where they're located and identifying UAS test sites, either FAA or other, that'll be there to support you, and we'd like to work with you to see if that could be an option. So that's more information coming forward.
Great, thanks. And at this point, I'm just going to go down we'll come back to this slide with comments and questions, but below that, the last couple slides, we've added in just a little information about Sue and I, and a little information about GoAERO, a slide there, just kind of an overview. And then little links to some of the forums we've already talked through, but we put them on the last couple pages, and really that's about it for the presentation. So we'll go back to comments and questions. So Nidhi, I'm going to give this back to you, and do you want to try to open it up?
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much. We do have a couple of questions that have come in. Folks, as a reminder, please use the Q&A function for any questions that you might have. And of course, as Jim mentioned, the recording will be available on our website, as are all of our other expert lectures. So you can certainly reference the information and utilize all of the very useful links that has been shared in the presentation. A question is, are Canadian drone licensing and drone pilot licensing transferable? If so, what is the process?
Great question. Yes. So we would, the FAA has a process called the Special Flight Authorization, where we can recognize that drone registration and certification through a Special Flight Authorization. We have not talked about that yet on this call. Sandy speaks about it briefly in his expert lecture, and we are going to focus on that a little bit more in the expert lecture that's coming up.
Great question.
And it's not a difficult process, which is the good news. The key is you want to have a registration number and certification established.
Okay. How does the process differ for foreign nationals, if it does at all?
So you have to think about it in two ways. One really ties back to the last question. If your aircraft is already registered and certified in that foreign country, then the FAA can issue a special flight authorization recognizing that certification, and it establishes operating limitations about how you can operate in the US. So that is the process that we would follow to get you certified to fly in the competition. Now, if you have a drone you're manufacturing in a foreign country, but you have not registered it or certified it, then you can get it registered and certified in the US. Our recommendation is you start with the registration right now and get that done. And then we can talk about opportunities for the certification process here in the US and where the best location is and timeline for that.
And we're not going to go into great detail on that, but I think one of the biggest issues that in the last competition we had was finding an individual within your organization, meaning the organization for the manufacturer or the operator, that is a U.S. citizen. So that's one of the challenges.
Yes. Yes, you need to have a U.S. citizen who can be tied to the FAA certification itself. Again, that's something that there is some information on it in Sandy's expert lecture, but we'll highlight that again in our next expert lecture. Next question.
The certification video presentation that we mentioned, Alex, if you're referring to the presentation that Sue and Jim are talking about that Sandy Imani did, he did that several months ago, and that's available on herox.com/GoAERO. And it's under the expert lecture tab, and you just need to do a quick search for FAA, and you will find that video presentation very easily. If you can't, just feel free to email us at info@goaeroprize.com, and we'll make sure and send the link over to you.
And Nidhi, I also put the hyperlink to that presentation on that slide, that last slide.
Oh, perfect. Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's a GoAERO expert lecturer.
Perfect. Will there be test courses at the test sites? If so, where and when?
So that's a great question. I don't know. We are just beginning our work with the test sites and laying out what your opportunities would be to go to those test sites and costs and what they'll have available. But that's a very good question to be considered.
And I think one of the biggest items for GoAERO is trying to determine which test sites are going to be the most efficient for all of you all. And depending on what part of the world you're coming in from and all that fun stuff. So it will be a challenge. And I think the first hurdle that GoAERO is trying to get together and get over is enabling facilities, to do the test facilities. And then next, trying to work with each one of the facilities to determine, if they can build something that meets the requirements for the competition.
But we've been very impressed with their capabilities and what they have available. So more to come.
Yep.
And Sue, my understanding is that we hope to be able to offer a little bit more insight during the summit. And for those that aren't able to attend the summit, we will provide that information shortly thereafter.
Yes, absolutely. That is the plan. So that you could start planning because time is moving quickly.
Mm-hmm. Great. Does the pilot of a drone, either less than 55 pounds or greater than 55 pounds, need to be a licensed drone pilot?
Yes. Yes, under Part 107, so less than 55 pounds, they need to be licensed under the drone zone, and you can go through that process there to do it. It's not terribly difficult. And for more than 55 pounds, it's driven by the operating limitations for the certification of that aircraft. So there is a certification element there too. And we will talk about that more in the next iterations of information that we're sharing with you, the requirements for that, how to get certified, similar to what we did for registration.
And Sue was kind of smiling and looking over at me because I just went through it and got the remote pilot certification. And it was, it was a good review of all of the rules that are out there. So for me, I was real happy to have gone through it and recently.
Mhm. But there's two different levels if you're already a certified pilot versus somebody who's coming in fresh into the country or just hasn't flown in the US.
Right.
Okay. Does the stage 2 minimum capability demonstration of 100 feet out and back require registration and certification?
Can you repeat the question one more time? I'm not sure.
Sure. Mhm. Does the stage 2 minimum capability demonstration of 100 feet out and back require registration and certification?
Oh, great question. So the basic question is you have to be able to comply with whatever the regulations are for the country that you're conducting that in and videotaping it. So if you were in the United States, yes, you would have to be registered and meet whatever certification requirements are required. And this kind of links us back to the value of the UAS test sites because under the UAS test sites, you don't have to have a full-blown FAA certification. You meet a parallel set of requirements. So again, got to be registered first in any UAS test site, but the certification piece may be reduced if you're doing that in there. I can't tell you the specifics for other countries, but we can help you navigate that if it's needed. And I want to loop back to another question that kind of ties it back to the UAS test sites. The test sites we've been speaking to do have on-site pilots that can be utilized. So if you don't have a drone pilot or you don't want to fly your drone pilot to the United States, they have the capability to support you in that manner as well. Any other questions?
Yeah, if there are other questions, if feel free to post them. As you know, the recording will be posted, so you can go through all of the links that the Gardners have provided. For those of you that are able to attend the summit in a couple of weeks, Jim and Sue will again be doing a longer, lengthier presentation there along with the FAA. And so you can also utilize that opportunity to ask any questions. We will also be recording that lecture and sharing it with all teams that are unable to attend. And they'll be going in more depth into the registration and certification process, as well as the UAS test sites. So just know that additional information is coming and will be made available for you.
Well, thanks, Nidhi. We really appreciate the opportunity to share this information, and we are so excited to be working with the teams. It's amazing what we're seeing as we look at the reviews of the teams that were in phase 1 and now in phase 2. We're really excited to be working with you.
And then special thanks for everybody that is on the Zoom call today or is going to join later. We really appreciate your support and know we're looking forward to working with you all and helping you out in any which way we can.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jim, Sue. We're looking forward to working with you, and teams, let us know if there's anything we can do to help you out. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.